Hello and welcome to The Knowing Show. I am your host, Christene Marie. Y'all, happy day 112th of the year. This is just such a good reminder, as it is every morning, for us to pause and reflect on the fact that we don't know what tomorrow holds. We don't even know what today holds, and we don't know if today is our last. We don't know if today is the last day of those that we love. And this is our chance to live today so well and truly live a life that we're proud of. I was listening to the song that I just loved yesterday, where the lyric goes, "I want to live this one wild life. I want to rip it apart." And may this just be our quick reminder this morning, right here, right now, and also throughout our lesson around how do we do that? How do we live a beautiful, wonderful life? And ultimately a life that we're proud of. So we're going to go ahead and start and dive into our reviews from yesterday, and then we'll review the lessons from today. Just a reminder, we're reading A Course in Miracles, and there's a very thick, big textbook associated with this. I actually have only read probably 90 pages out of the 600. So I can't speak to everything in that book, but the lessons, I did about 100 of them last year out of 365, and they were really encouraging. And so I wanted to do this for myself, and figured that going live would make this be a good habit for me. So we're doing this, and we're kind of exploring each lesson, just because frankly I don't know what we're going to experience. I don't know what we're going to find, and then we kind of contend with it together. So for those of you who are joining on LinkedIn, the chat is a place that is important, and I think you could even say sacred. That word I don't use lightly, but especially what we're talking about this morning, the concept of spiritual growth and knowing God and experiencing Him. The chat is a place that I do monitor closely, and I actually am really looking out for those regulars to tell me, hey, this person needs to go. So I am very in tune with that. Sometimes it does take me a few minutes to kind of check in with the chat in between reading and chatting with y'all, but please be active. I want to hear from you, and please let me know if there's someone that needs to go, because I am watching. So with that, I will actually jump into the chat just quickly to those who just joined. Sham Shahid, good morning. I'm glad to see you. Bang Top, good morning. I'm glad you're here. Bang Top is one of those regulars, so I'm happy to see you. And I'm excited for this morning. You know, there's a lot for us to learn and to add to. There's this concept of adding to your faith, or adding to your virtue, adding to, we're constantly growing. You know, I think of knowing as, you know, when Michelangelo was asked, how did you make David? He said, well, I stripped away who David was not. And so part of knowing, the Knowing Show, is stripping away who we're not, and then also adding to the faith, adding to the virtue, adding to our skill set, our intellect, our mind, and ultimately really cultivating ourselves. And so that word cultivate is engaged, it's visceral at times, and that's what we do here on the show. So for those of you who are new, welcome. I'm going to go ahead and dive in. Just another quick note around the chat. For those of you who are my regulars, please do watch out for those who are being inappropriate. And those who are being inappropriate, I'm so glad you're here. And I ask for you to keep your comments that are honorable. That's my request for you, is to be honorable. All right, we're going to go ahead and jump into our review of yesterday's lessons. We're in a season of reviews. We've got 10 days of reviewing lessons 91 through 110. So yesterday we did a review of lesson 91, which was miracles are seen in light. Lesson 92, miracles are seen in light and strength are one. And today's lesson 112, is a review of lesson 93 and 94. So lesson 93, light and joy and peace abide in me. I am the home of light and joy and peace. I welcome them into the home I share with God, because I am a part of Him. Lesson 94, I am as God created me. I will remain forever as I was, created by the changeless like Himself, and I am one with Him, and He with me. And One of the biggest things as we're reading through this review, obviously these are very, very short lessons. The goal here is to actually, there's a concept around taking the thought that we're learning and literally just keeping it in our mind's eye and closing our eyes and just thinking about it and kind of meditating on it. And with that process of thinking on it and meditating on it and just giving our attention, where we place our attention is where we place our energy. And where we place our energy is ultimately who we begin to become, or who we propel becoming. So whether we want to change and have a new way of being or new way of doing, that energy being directed to that which we place our attention is really the first step. But if we're looking to continue onward in a direction of being or doing, again, where we place our energy and thus our attention is really the pathway to get there. And so the question is, these 2 points and these 2 lessons that we're reviewing today, light and joy and peace abide in me, and I am as God created me. What are the pre-existing narratives about both of those concepts? What do we currently believe abides in us? Because one, words have so much power. And I caught myself the other day where I was about to say something kind of negative. And I just caught myself like, oh, if I speak that out, I'm actually putting my attention and then my energy, and then just continuing to reinforce and potentially even spiral down in a direction I don't want to go. So if we're not wanting to be depressed, if we're not wanting to complain, if we're not wanting to be in a negative neurological spin, I mean, it really is neurological. Yesterday we were talking about how the cortisol levels versus, the stress hormones versus kind of the joy hormones impact our mood, and then they impact our mind. So if we want to get to the source, so often it is actually addressing the physical layer and dimension that we're experiencing in the world around us. And so if we want to change and move towards the light and joy and peace that abide in us, we can kind of reverse engineer it for, okay, what am I telling my mind? Where are my emotions? And then what about my physical body? Is peace actually abiding in you, or are you experiencing more stress in your life? That's a very practical question and a real practical examination that we could probably answer quickly. Are we feeling more at stress, or are we feeling more at peace? And there's very practical things we can do to move out of stress. And actually, I'd love to know, for those of you who are in the chat, I'd love to know what are some of the things that you all do practice and aim in your life so that you can really, honestly, so that you can really control those cortisol levels. So if you guys don't mind, I'm going to be jumping here in the chat and just kind of seeing what you all have to say around that. How can one manage cortisol levels, the stress levels, and ultimately make sure that, okay, I know how to bring peace. I know how to bring peace. So let's go ahead. I'm going to turn towards the chat. Thomas Jefferson, good morning. Woke is broke. Good morning. Jim Wilson, good morning. The Burning Mill, Australia, hello. Christopher, I'm glad you're here. Eddie, thanks for joining. Christopher Adams, it's 10:30 p.m. here. Dang. Thanks for joining. I'm usually in bed at that time. Coin Vogue, good morning. Gregory, Paladiox, Anthony. Wow. Draco. Draco says, are you religious? If so, what religion? I really love God. I really, really, really do. And I just have seen religion do so much damage. And so I don't even like talking about religion for that very reason, because I think it is too, I'm going to take a detour to get there. So bear with me, if you will. A strong brand, I do branding and marketing in my day job. Branding and marketing, a strong brand demarcates. They're not afraid to cut through and have lovers and haters. Yet there are certain things that you could choose to talk about that's going to cause people to hate in a way that it's actually not worth the return. when we think of the exchange. So I'm saying something, my words, everything I put out, I get a return on the investment of each word that I speak. For me, getting specific about religion is not worth the return on investment. And frankly, it ends up attracting people that I actually probably wouldn't even want to attract. I'd rather have the real honest conversations with people who want to know God. And if they're not even sure if they want to know God, I want to talk to them too. And I want to hear from them and I want to learn from you. And so for me to say, oh, I adhere to X, Y, and Z, it immediately creates a demarcation that immediately cuts people off and isolates. And I don't want to do that. So I don't answer that religious question for that reason. It's not worth it in my mind. And it actually alienates the very people that I think that the people that God are like is really caring about, which is people who are hurting. And people who are hurting don't want to hear about religion. At least I didn't. So that's how I answer that question. I'd be curious, Draco, if you have any follow-up questions. I'd love to talk about it. Straight Jacket, good morning. Bang Top. Bang Top, we don't talk like that. Scarface, good morning. Sammy, I'm so glad to see you. I'm so broken, but reaching out helps. Sammy, I'm so glad you're here. For those of you who don't know Sammy, he is a friend of the Knowing Show and has been joining us for a couple of months now at this point, and I'm just so grateful for you, Sammy. Sammy, actually, the very first day he joined, he let us know it was the 2-year anniversary of his accident. And since then, he's been diagnosed and with being a C2 quadriplegic. And so, Sammy, we're rooting for you this morning. We love you. And just praying for you, my friend, and with you. Mark Patterson, good morning. PvP, good morning. Breaker of Legs, good morning. I'm glad you're back. It's good to see you. Jay Singh. Oh, I'm so glad that your neighbor Stephanie does. Anytime, yes, absolutely. Email me at Christene Marie. And I'd love to explore what you're doing on your podcast and how you're changing the world. Breaker of Legs says, what happened yesterday? Like you suddenly went offline in the middle of the show. You know what? Sometimes my internet just craps out in the middle of the show, which isn't ideal. Prehistoric, good morning. I believe in super European paganism and not Middle Eastern religion Christianity. Well, I'm glad you're here. Honestly, y'all, here's the thing. We all need each other. We really do. Like, here's the thing. If our joint value is truth, then there is no way that there's not something that you know that I don't. And vice versa. We all know a splinter of God. We all know a splinter of love. We all know a splinter of what is necessary to get through life. And what a beautiful thing for all of us to come together, and to share and to be curious. But curiosity has to be a shared value too. It's not just a value of truth, it's a truth of curiosity. And can we actually hear what someone else has to say from their experience? Here's the thing. If we are, how do I want to say this? I was 28 years old when I realized I had been living most of my life asleep. And so therefore I actually couldn't really truly be curious because I was not even being fully human. So there's something around, if we're an awake, aware, intelligent human being, then I think that part of that actually lends to really truly being curious. I think we almost cannot be fully awake without curiosity, without this desire to know, without this desire to lean in and ask questions and be like, Bang Top, tell me what you think. Tell me what you've experienced. Because y'all, the experience that we've been through adds so much in terms of lessons. And it's not about overthinking, Brett, to your point. It's about adding to, it's about strengthening so that every single day I then, from this computer and from this seat in which I'm sitting with you, we all go out and we live well in the experience of living. And we live in the present and we know how to be more present, more fulfilled, more satiated, more from a place of giving and from a place of overflow, from a place of love than ever before. So, I've had actually folks, Brat, to your point, say, man, this is overthinking or this is too analytical. And maybe this isn't for you. And that's, bless you and be gone. You don't have to stay. And at the same time, doing the work to know who we are and doing the work to ask questions has been actually the keys to freedom. Because now I'm proud of the life I'm living. Now I'm so grateful for each one of you to connect on the level that we do. And y'all, there's a growth that happens in every regard. On Wednesday night, so today we're going to be playing trivia. It's not just about thinking, and it's about knowing how to, because that's just our intellectual intelligence. It's not just thinking, it is about experiencing the joy of life. OZN3T, where I'm going to go ahead and block you if you don't stop talking like that, but you're welcome to be here. It's about engaging our mind in the intellectual intelligence. It's about engaging our emotions from the emotional intelligence. It's about knowing how to experience the presence of God through our spiritual intelligence. And then physical intelligence, how do we actually maintain health? How do we actually be healthy? Because that is the foundation upon which we then will engage in all the other areas of our lives. Y'all, this pursuit is a worthy one. It really, really, really is. You're worthy of being known, and your life is worthy of cultivating. So I'm going to jump back here in the chat. Breaker of legs. I had a narcissist I was aware of who was my brother-in-law at the time, my boss. Oh my gosh. After 5 years of having someone play such heavy games and having no support from my wife at the time who was helping him, feeling you lost with no support, getting to suicidal level. God finally opened my eyes, and now I'm doing better than ever. Wow. Oh my gosh. Was God's love. I was able to pull myself out and make the biggest learning lesson of my life. And now I've been closer to him. Breaker of legs, that story is so powerful. It's funny, we were talking about suffering the other day, and it's wild how those are the very things that so often can be the thing that catalyze our waking up, to use that concept of being asleep versus living awake. Yeah, it's wild how the very things that cause the most pain and can really put us in the dark night of the soul can be the very things that actually set us free. And to be honest, that concept of freedom derived from the chains which bound us for so long. And I really actually do mean chains, like being in relationship with narcissists, whether it's your brother-in-law, whether it's your boss, whether it's both, whether it's your partner, even a kid, man, is it bonding and in a really damaging way. And so there's freedom on the other side. There's freedom on the other side of discipline too, where, all right, like last night, I didn't let myself go to bed until I finished the projects I was working on. And then I went to bed feeling so like, let's go, And so how much more so in the other areas of our life do we then derive that kind of feeling of freedom? So I just love that you said that. Oh my gosh, TW8461 says, my dad just died. I am so very, very sorry. Wow. For those of you here in the chat, I just would love for us to take a minute. I'm so sorry, TW. That's so, 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 so painful. Man, I'd love to hear about him if you're open to sharing here in the chat. Truly, that's, I'm sure, I don't know. Did you have a close relationship? What was that like for you? Prime Rays, good morning. Vishnu, good morning. Breaker of Lake says, there are some trolls today. Yes, y'all. For whoever are trolls, I'm just going to kind of slowly put y'all in timeout if y'all aren't going to be genuine. But it seems like they've kind of quieted down. Jack Goodall, good morning. Milan, good morning. Mark Patterson, good morning. Tweaker, Raven, good morning. TW, I would love to hear. Vizzy, good morning. Vizzy, my name is Christene Marie, Christene. If you could pray for me, I'm trying to figure out God's plan, like if I should try to be an example to my wife who continues to manipulate, or leave and put it behind me. Oh, that's a hard one. Breaker of legs. I will 100% pray for you. Sometimes I'll pray on the show, but today actually I don't feel led to do that, but I will be praying for you. I'm actually about to sit and do my vertical alignment for the morning, which is just my time to get myself aligned for the day. And so I'd love to pray for you during that time. Thank you for asking. Kevin, I love this. I'm so happy right now. I don't know what happens. I don't know what you're going to say on the end, but I'm so glad you're so happy. That's exactly what we want. Oh, Busy, I'm so glad. Yes, please come back. Chris, please keep me in prayer for custody with my daughter. Oh no. Do you mean for your daughter, like a custody battle for your daughter, or that you and your daughter are in custody battle for her child? Man, Chris, that's rough. Montauk, good morning. I'm glad you're here. Loss is never easy, Mark Patterson says. Isn't that the truth? It really isn't. There's no recipe. There's no one size fits all for how to do loss, how to do pain. So TW, if you're still here, I'm so sorry, my friend, and I'm glad you came. In a nutshell, I'm going to go ahead and put you on timeout because we don't talk like that, and I'm not. Eric, good morning. Yusuf, good morning. Solas, good morning. Charles. All right, Yusuf, I'm going to go ahead and put you on timeout as well because that's not how how we talk around here. But just on timeout, you can come back. 4 or 5. Thank you. Listen to her voice. Ansley. Oh, I'm so glad to see you. Good morning and welcome back. These days, they can't tell a difference between a man and a woman. Honestly, it is really sad. Like I think it's sad that we don't know who we are. We don't know. We can't tell who other people are either. There's just there's a lot of, I think, disillusionment over our identity, our identity to the point that we do really radical things to change it. Man, wouldn't it be interesting if we all saw the value in who we were? Just right out of the gate. It's like, man, I really believe that I'm loved. And then you don't need to go change genders or something like that. All right, y'all. The Count of Saint Germain. You were talking about God, and I've got a problem. It's terrible and difficult for me to try to regain my faith, even though I want to. Oh, man. Yeah, Ansley says, what's the topic of discussion today? Today, we were actually going through 2 lessons in A Course in Miracles, and tonight we're going to be playing trivia. So, but right now, the Count of Saint Germain said, it's terrible and difficult for me to try to regain faith, even though I want to, but God is a being above all. We experience the world in 3 physical dimensions plus time. Therefore, we cannot perceive what God is, and all the religions are made up by dudes. I love how matter of fact you say that. Of course, the Count of Saint Germain. I'd love to know when have you encountered God? What did that experience look like for you, and what did What did that do for you? Because I think sometimes, we keep looking externally when maybe we've encountered God in another way in the past, but we're not going back to that space. So even if that space was in the solitude of our room, in in prayer, or in the dark night of the soul, or we've been having those encounters with the Lord in those quiet places, and then we don't go back to those, and then we kind of are outsourcing relationship with God. So I'm curious, when have you, if you have, successfully encountered him, what did that look like? Jess Davis. Hmm, I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you're here. Um, I think it's a beautiful, wonderful thing. I'm just looking from your icon that I'm assuming you're a woman, and it's a really wonderful thing when women can really come together and encourage each other. So I'm hopeful that that can be our case this morning. Um, the Count of Saint Germain. Beyond that, every single religion is constantly trying to prove that they're correct about God. Meanwhile, there's an absence of faith, because if they had faith, they would not feel the need to try. I was literally thinking about this last or 2 nights ago. If we really had faith, then we wouldn't really have proof. And if we had proof, then we wouldn't need faith. So, and then you said, well, that's just my issue. Even if you um, have a personal relationship with God, it's at an angle through a frosted glass on a cloudy day. Mm. I think what you're saying holds so much weight. You know, I think that's like the pursuit. God, I want to know you for who you are, not what religion says. That's what I don't think you were here earlier. Um, around around me talking about religion, but that's part of the reason why we don't the knowing community, it's in the pursuit of truth, in the pursuit of God, and enshrouded by curiosity. Because if we come in with those preconceived, like, oh yeah, this is it, then we're not open to, well, maybe you've had a revelation that I haven't. And maybe I actually have been taught this, that there's this concept of being told from the pulpit being versus being taught from within, being taught from the voice and presence of God within me. And that's today's lesson. Today's lesson says, I am as God created me, I will remain forever as I was created by the changeless, like himself. I am one with him and he is with me. He is, and this is, I do believe that God, there's a spark, like we were made in his image. There's a spark of the divine in every single one of us. And also there's a verse in Colossians that says Christ is in all. And so there's this concept around, man, what if I was to allow myself to be taught by God rather than told by people? And man, wouldn't that actually be the conduit for a lot of truth? And so, to that, I think what you're saying is just so meaningful in so many ways, because there's so many conflict. Ansley says there are so many philosophies that just take the credit away from God. So true. And it's like, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. And allowing for that to be, Uncle Rob says, better to be spiritual or religious. I think even then it's like, man, are we just wanting to know God for ourselves? Because even spiritual is a label. People have said, "Oh no, I'm spiritual," and now they're assigning themselves to a camp. And it's like, okay, if I was to close my eyes, be radically honest with myself, do I want to know God? Beyond belonging to a religion, beyond belonging to the spiritual community, what do I actually want for me? Who do I want to be? Who do I want to know? And if I want to know God, am I actually willing then to do what it takes? Because doing what it takes doesn't mean we go and sit in these religious settings. It usually means that we engage in the solitude and in the quiet. And in the quiet, then we experience God. There's this concept of God's not in the wind or the fire or the noise. He's in the stillness of the whispering breeze. And y'all, I really have experienced that. And I'd be curious if others of you have experienced that too. It's like, man, the presence of God has come through and in so much pain, and also through a lot of stillness. So the question is, do we actually want to know? Do we want to encounter God? Do we want to experience him? And what kind of life do we want to live? It's all those questions that kind of layer on top of each other that ultimately form into who you and I become and the life that we live. And again, the goal for this is that we walk away from the Knowing Show every single day ready to live better, ready to live more awake, more activated with each one of these intelligences: spiritual, intellectual, emotional, and physical. Like, we are more aligned, we're more integrated. And now we go forth from this place to go live well and love well. But it's from a place of intention rather than living on default and on autopilot. So these questions force our subconscious to wake up a little bit more and to come a little bit more online, because we're intentionally asking ourselves something that we're not going to run from now. So this type of questioning and intention actually leads to a more holistic life and experiential life, so to say. All right, y'all. Thank you so much for joining me this morning. I will be back for the Knowing Show trivia, which I'm super excited about. Let me pull up on my end. I have a meeting with a roofing company today. So let me see my calendar. Joey, I love that. It says, we are given freedom of the soul at birth. The soul represents an individual's personality, mind, will, and emotions to self, while the spirit is a higher immaterial part that connects. I'm assuming you're saying with God. That's beautiful. All right. I am looking at my calendar. Ooh-wee. Today's a busy day. All right. Honestly, if I leave there, let's plan for trivia at 7 p.m. Eastern. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm actually going to schedule that out right when I jump off. Yeah, let's plan for trivia 7 p.m. Eastern. Y'all, this is where we just play and hang out and have fun, because doing this work, doing the work to get to know ourselves, doing the work to cultivate our intelligences, doing the work to really come to know what's true, it's work. And sometimes it's a lot. And so this is kind of a fun, encouraging time for us to just regain joy and play a little bit. So come and join me tonight, 7 p.m. We're going to do trivia. And Man in the Hat, I saw you pop in earlier. It's good to see you. Have a wonderful day, y'all. I will see you tonight, 7 p.m. Eastern. Have a wonderful day. Remember, y'all, we only know for sure that we've got one day. So maybe live it well. Have a good day, and I will see you soon. Oh, Man in the Hat says, what is the trivia topic for tonight? I haven't chosen yet. What should it be? Man in the Hat, you get to call this. I don't know. What should we do? What should be our trivia topic? I am just looking through here in the chat. Oh, Jess, I'm so sorry for you perceiving that. Well, Jess, then my dear, I am going to block you from the channel. If you don't want to be here, that is totally fine. No, let me block you. If you ever want to come back on, just let me know. Nicole, oh, I'm so sad we missed you. We're coming back on tonight. We're coming back on tonight at 7 p.m. All right. We're playing. Okay, sorry, I was blocking somebody. We're coming back on at 7 p.m. tonight, and we're going to play trivia. So, Nicole, I hope you can make it. All right. Let's see. Man in the Hat, what are your thoughts? That's for you to answer. That's why you make the big bucks. Such big bucks. All right, y'all. Have a wonderful, wonderful day. I will see you tonight, 7 p.m. Eastern for trivia, and then again tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. Eastern for Lesson 113. All right.